This audio is brought to you by Muslim Central. Please consider donating to help cover our running costs and future projects by visiting www.muslimcentral.com/donate.
Is Allah a chance to gain reward? I will spend on you, he says, all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn His reward. Don't forget the oppressed. And when you go to sleep at night.
Bismillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulil kareem, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi, wa man tabi'a sunnatuhu ila yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome again to another episode of your weekly live Islamic chat show, A Time to Please Allah. And I've been obviously away for a couple of weeks.
MashaAllah, welcome back.
It's good to be back. So I know you've been discussing over the last couple of weeks about the hijab. I attempted to watch the episodes, but I think I managed to watch like 20 minutes of one of them.
Have you ever watched at least one episode full?
Of the hijab one?
No, or any of our episodes.
Of ours? No.
Me neither.
No.
People it's not like I sit down and watch I don't know. I can't. I can't watch more than like 10 minutes or just to see if there's any issue.
Yeah.
I can't stand kind of listening to myself. I don't know. I think most people have that issue. But yeah, we're talking about the hijab, and it's I think it kind of got stretched over a few episodes. We had Brother Muhammad Bano and Brother Adil with us, and we had some good discussions and nice, interesting phone calls actually. It was quite good to hear the opinion of the sisters, and we encourage actually the sisters to call, and the brothers, everyone to call. You can see the number on the screen. We are live today from Dubai, and today is also the opening day ceremony for the peace conference. That's
right. Yeah, here in Dubai.
Right.
And which is now part of it was last year as well, but it's obviously incorporated now with the Sheikh Mohammed Dubai World Peace Award.
Mm-hmm.
The Dubai World Peace Award. Even if you were to go to search for the peace conference website, it comes up as the DWPA, the Dubai World Peace Award. So it's all part of the government of Dubai. So I've heard that it's quite an improvement this year.
Okay.
So I mean, inshallah, we're going to pass by on the way back from here.
Right.
And
but yeah, you're going to be there tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow with yourself, I believe, as one of the Dawah counsellors at their exhibition, answering people's questions about Islam and stuff like that. So if any of the viewers want to come down and say salam, we'll be around, inshallah.
It's even cool to come down and give some advice or some, maybe you see something that we don't see that, you were kind of shy to tell us over the phone or something like that. And you want to advise us, or you want to tell us something to change, or, which direction take the show in. Again, this show is really, dealing with things that you have, issues that you have that you want to discuss. So we're always willing to listen and to hear.
So the hijab, maybe you can fill me in a bit about what you've covered.
Yeah.
So then I can maybe.
If you're just joining us today, by the way, that a lot of people might not know, but that our program changed. Now, two episodes have been aired from 8 to 9 now.
That's
8
right,
to 9, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Dubai time, UAE time, and 7 to 8 Mecca time. So make sure you mark your schedule. But yeah, we talked about the hijab in the first episode. We kind of discussed the rulings and the proofs around the hijab, why the hijab is fard. And we also refuted some of the misconceptions that people have about hijab. Then in the second episode, we kind of moved towards the social issues revolving the hijab and the I would say difficulties that specifically the sisters face when it comes to wearing the hijab, to adhering to the hijab. What are the do's, don'ts, and what gets them closer to wearing the hijab and what pushes them away from the hijab. And we had quite some emotional phone calls and some different, and it was nice to get a balanced view, different, points of views, and to hear about these difficulties that a lot of sisters, some sisters, saying that, I just started wearing hijab like, a month ago, and I feel so empowered, I feel so, so strong, and some sisters saying that, I want to wear the hijab, I'm not there yet, I don't think people should judge me, or, so, I mean, it was interesting to hear, and so on, the different views, and we discussed all these things. And then we said we wanted to move today a little bit more towards supporting our sisters and giving them that the blessings and the glad tidings of what are the benefits of being a Muslim woman and being proud of being that. And we talked about past episode about the ghuraba, right? بدا الإسلام غريب وسيعود غريب فطوبى للغرباء, and how important is it to be a stranger, right? Because a lot of times if you're wearing that, conforming to the Islamic dress code, people will be like, kind of like, especially in different parts of the world, people look at you kind of like, this person is very strange, right? So we said that you should actually take some kind of a power from that, and it should motivate you to grab the glad tidings from the Prophet ﷺ. So I guess today we'll have a guest that we'll talk about women.
Yeah, I guess inshallah Brother Mansour Danish will come after the break. He will, I don't want to go too much because obviously he'll introduce himself, but he conducts specifically not only in India, but he's conducted even in Dubai, but I think the focus he's conducted on, as being living in India, he's done several places in India called Heroes of Islam, where he focuses on who are the real heroes that we should be looking at. So he focuses on the youth, etc. And he has obviously some as well, which are the female heroes or the heroines of like from the Sahabiyat, from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, the female companions. So he'll be coming in and giving us a few examples of these women, or what kind of women they were, because we know there's always issues with the whole role models, and we touched upon that in our previous episodes. But
we talked about that women do lack the role model, and even the role models that they see, that they might sport some type of hijab, convertible type of hijab or whatever, that's not the real representation of the hijab, right? So a lot of them might follow that. And
now we have people, making happy videos. I mean that's just a mind boggler, really. I was just thinking about it. I was saying to myself, and I think some other da'is out there have said the same thing, but I was saying to myself, I mean, to be honest, I didn't go onto Facebook and as of yet and mention anything about it because I saw so many other people have done it. So I thought, but I mean, just the fact, I mean, I don't want to invite people to go and watch it, of course, but I mean, I'm sure many people have already seen this video, and the sad thing about it is there are so-called people who claim to be callers to Islam there, not callers to the correct Islam, but I was very surprised to see an individual who, in their version of Islam, is considered to be like a scholar, and he's like the head of Islamic studies in Cambridge University, But
the funny thing is that one of them actually distanced himself from that, even in their...
When it finally came out.
In their case, yeah.
I mean, even if I mean, I don't know anybody can really justify it fatwa-wise, but even if somebody follows the weak fatwa that music is allowed, which is, as we mentioned before, is very, very weak. That's the kind of music they're talking about maybe in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, where they would play a very basic guitar or a flute, something very simple, not the shake this, shake that, and
well, that's the worst thing, is that the shaking that comes
apart from the fact that it is clear music of an individual who is famous for singing the most crude songs with Snoop Dogg and all kinds of stuff, and I mean, I remember from many years ago, very X-rated kind of songs and videos. I mean, the fact that he's singing is one thing, but then the music itself, completely haram. And then you have the sisters, unfortunately, in hijab.
In hijab, well, some version of hijab.
Dancing around and shaking everything around. I mean, literally, like any women in a video. And what is sad is they fail to kind of realize that, you're dancing around your body.
You're clowning,
Just like anybody, even from the man's side of thing, you see the sisters jumping around. Most of them are wearing, not necessarily the correct Islamic clothing anyway. So it was very sad to see that.
I think all of them.
And I think what was even sadder, because maybe some of them generally don't really realize, they think that they're hijab. So we're not like judging people in that sense, but what was more surprising and more upsetting was I happened to tune in to a channel, an Islamic channel. It comes from the UK, which again has many of its own problems, but And they were actually talking about that. And I just tuned in, I was flicking through because I have a satellite, I have Islamic channels I have saved as favourites. So I was flicking through them. And I've really watched this channel, but now and again they may have a documentary or something of interest. And it happened to be like it's like this kind of thing. It's a talk show in the evening, subhanAllah, as I was doing that, because I'd seen these two hosts in the video, which is already a bit like, oh, come on, guys. And
so the hosts are in the video.
The hosts are in the video doing what everyone else is doing, because I'm happy and all that kind of stuff. And subhanAllah, so I was saying to myself, oh, yeah, that reminds me, I just saw those guys in that clip that someone put on Facebook. And so I stayed on for a few seconds, and they said, oh yeah, they're happy. They're literally talking about the video.
They're proud of it.
Must have generated some criticism. And they have a couple of people who were also there, dancing around. And they said to them, what kind of comments have you got? And it would be bad enough if they just said, oh, you got negative comments. That's a shame. Oh, really? Oh, but it's just a bit of fun. That's bad enough. But what they were saying is, did you get those guys coming along, making those negative comments and saying, "Hey, what are you? This is not befitting, guys. This is not permissible." As if it's a joke. Like if someone is doing that, yes. He's a Looney Tunes. He's an extremist. He's a over the top guy. He's not on the middle path. He's an extremist or something. Right. So and then one of the guys was just like, "Oh yeah, 5/6 of the people were like, great." And you had 1/6 of the people were like, it's haram. And even the way he was saying it was like, and I think that was more upsetting to hear them saying that than the actual video itself.
Well, but that's the issue with red herrings, right? And when you're talking about discussions such as, what's allowed and what's not allowed, is that people can just say that, these people are saying that it's haram. So just by stating that you're dismissing and causing them to be in, this extreme side, saying that way, saying to something that it's haram, it's something bad or it's something, wrong, right? And that's the interesting that a lot of people get caught into this, that, the people who are calling to good, they're marginalized, and these are people who are very, very bad. They're always, everything is haram. They're the haram police, right? They even have these labels and terms now that they come up with, that, these people are the haram police. But the thing is that if we revert, if you want to take it back to Allahi wa Rasulih, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, there's no place for this, man. I mean, not for what they're doing. Okay, not for what they're doing. There's no place for women and the hijab, that they're wearing, and we're talking about hijab, to shake and to dance like that, and at the same time, the hadith that came to me, to my mind, and that I posted actually, was the hadith of the Prophet saying that that you will follow the people into the lizard hole. You'll do everything up to following him in the lizard hole. And the people, the Sahaba was saying, who? The people of who pretty much made that the Jews and the Christians. And he said, who else? Who else? So, they make, happy, then someone else will make, and the Muslims have to have the Muslim version. People have, what is this, vines, whatever they have right now?
Vines, yeah.
Right? There has to be the Muslim version, right? People make something, the Muslim version has to come out right away, Now you have the happy penguin dance or whatever, that's going around. I don't know if you've seen this.
I don't know about that one. Happy penguin.
Yeah, it's the happy penguin dance that's spreading around.
But it must be a pretty ridiculous dance.
It's been done by people at weddings and people wearing traditional clothes, and it's spreading around in the Muslim countries. Then before you used to have I don't know what's the other.
The Harlem Shake?
Harlem Shake, whatever, everything. It's like the Muslims are following everything, but they're not thinking like, wait a second.
We term it as the Haram Shake.
The Haram Shake. And we need to, forget about, all the discourse. People, oh, you guys think it's haram. We think we got, a fourth, or like, only if people saying that it's haram and everyone else said it's okay. And so those are just sidetracking. You look at whether this is allowed or not. Simple as much as, you would watch and be like, haha, that's funny or something, It's not about whether it's funny or not. It's not about what your nafs thinks. It's not, even to be coming from the background that I come from, when I hear some music, sometimes it's like, oh man, I can, it's a beat that I would, sport or something like that. But then you're like, wait a second, is this allowed? And that's the whole
funny
point.
Thing is, if you look at the reality, I was, I came across, someone posted on Facebook, like, I can't believe this kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it took me to like a blog webpage
Okay.
of the people who did the video. And it had all the names of all the names of the people who were in the video.
Sure.
And at the same time, it said, we Muslims are always being accused of being grumpy,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And also being British, the stiff upper lip. We want to show the people that we're friendly and happy. But, I mean, we come from non-Muslim backgrounds. We know that if we were sitting there, alhamdulillah we're not, on the other side of that, as in non-Muslims, see the Muslims doing that, we know deep down we're going to say, what are these Muslims doing?
Yeah, right.
We'd laugh at them,
Yeah.
We'd say to them, we probably would say, well, they're trying to be like us.
Yeah.
In the sense of
Wannabes, yeah.
what they doing,
Yeah.
They saw everyone else doing it, dancing around in New York and London, whatever, so they tried to do a British Muslims version. Doesn't, why not just...
Yeah,
it would look, it's even
looks
too over the
ridiculous.
top. Why not just make it like, if you want to take part in it, I'm not saying this is not permission from me, fatwa or something, but if you're going to do that, why didn't you just do a regular London one and have a few Muslims with a few non-Muslims, and so it wouldn't stand out. But this whole making it a happy British Muslims, it's just so what did someone put? Real cheesy. Even forget the haram, it's just really cheesy and corny and like, trying to just copy everyone else, imitate everybody else. It's just
And
big flop.
and going back, subhanAllah, to
You want to show that we're happy people. There's many things we can do. Show the Muslims greeting each other. Show the Muslims giving sadaqah.
show the Muslims how
Show the
they
Muslims on a-
respect the family, environment.
Show the Muslims on a Friday when they meet up at the
When they
Jummah,
meet
maybe
with-
hug
yeah,
each
yeah.
other. Many
And
things
make
to
it
show
as a
that we're happy
dawah, as a
people.
dawah material, This is not a dawah, it's a ridiculous thing that people look at and they'll be like, what is this? Make it as a dawah project. You want to show people that you're happy, be happy about your deen. Okay? قل بفضل الله وبرحمته فبذلك فليفرحوا هو خير مما يجمعون. So this is the verse, قل بفضل الله وبرحمته. In the fadl of Allah, in the rahmah of Allah, this is what people should take pleasure in. This is better than what they gather. And subhanAllah, whatever it would be, honestly, I used to listen to Pharrell back in the days. He was one of my favorites. And I'm not, we talked before about music. And we have background in that we have good history with that, But subhanAllah, this is the issue with Islam. That when you become a Muslim, you take a stance. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَعَلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرِّ وَقَلْبِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this deen of Islam, comes between a man's heart, his desires. We have desires. I'll be like, I'll be breakdancing right now if it wouldn't be for Islam. I'll be, and many brothers, we met brother Ibn Abbas, he was much better than me. But he always says, don't talk to me about breakdance, man. Because, I still, these pools. But Allah, when I look at him, for example, brothers like him, man, this guy was like amazing, man. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came between him and his desires. So that's what, subhanAllah, we need.
Well, we've got to go for a break now. So, have a break, have a Kit Kat.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, He says.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. Time to please Allah. New time, 8 to 9 p.m. UAE time, 7 to 8 p.m. Mecca time. Please send us your comments, your recommendations on Facebook, or you can call us at the number that appears on the screen. And you can participate in this show. And we are discussing and talking about hijab. We kind of went into a little tangent talking about this happy British Muslim thing, because it involved sisters who had some kind of hijab. I've watched it. I don't recall seeing anyone that was actually properly covered. But even if they were, that type of behavior to show the whole world, like in 2 days, I think you got 500,000 views or something like that for the whole world. As a husband. Okay, you have issues with the sisters doing that. At the same time, there's issues with the husbands of those sisters, the brothers of those sisters, the fathers of those sisters.
Some of the brothers and the husbands were dancing with their wives on the video.
I remember one of my friends, he posted one time, he said, I don't understand where is the jealousy of the brothers who post pictures of their wives on Facebook, which is, something that, you put it out there for the whole world to see, and it's like, it shows that, how much do you love her, number one, and how much do you protect her and how much jealousy you have towards your wife. And when you help her towards doing something that at least, and you can see that is very questionable and very, very dodgy and very problematic, then you have to kind of look at the manhood of that person and question that what would the Sahaba do? Because you find sometimes, subhanAllah, forget about dancing. The Sahaba sometimes, when they would find their wives just waiting at the door for them, and it was a sign from Jahiliyyah that this used to be like an invitation, right? So I remember one of the Sahabas, and he came home, his wife was waiting at the door, just about to because he thought it's like she's doing something from the Jahiliyyah. I mean, they were very strict in that, and very jealous, and they were very protective of their women, because they understood the value of the woman. They understood that the woman is the one that protects the house, the one that raises the children, the one that gives the tarbiyah in the house when the husband is not there. That she is the one who's basically, taking care of a great part of educating and raising the next generation for the ummah, and for the ummah to have continuity and to have, well, not even continuity, but I'm saying quality in the continuity. The woman has to have quality in the deen, and as soon as she loses that, the hijab becomes some kind of convertible thing that's, just here, there's some kind of fashion statement. Then you'll find that the daughters will be in the same position, and the whole shift goes from Aisha, from Hafsa, from the Sahabiyat, goes to this presenter and this actress and this, who might have some kind of hijab, but she's, the role. This is the image of the successful woman that, our girls want to talk today. But without further ado, speaking, inshallah, on this topic today, we have our dear brother. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa
Welcome
barakatuh.
to our show. It's great to have you.
Barakallah fiqh.
And could you please tell us a little bit about what you do first before we get into the actual thing?
Okay, I have recently been appointed as the director with the Aliman Education Foundation. So I'm basically there to give them consultancy in terms of their Islamic activities, as well as the educational curriculum that they have.
Sure.
So this is what I've been doing. Apart from this, I was trained under Sheikh Arshad Bashir Madani. And since then, I have been, for the last 5 years, I've been actively involved in the field of da'wah. And like our friend Akhi Ismail Bullock was mentioning about the Heroes of Islam, this was a project which we started in 2011. And since then, we've covered quite a number of cities in India. And inshallah ta'ala, in the future, we can have one in Dubai as well. So the workshop, basically, Heroes of Islam, focuses on motivating the youth. It is also to make them align themselves with the vision of the male and female companions of the Prophet ﷺ. And of course the vision of Rasulullah ﷺ. Because we are lost somewhere. Just taking a cue out of what you were saying. The major issue which I feel is the issue of Aqidah. And Aqidah is quite important. If our foundations are not clear, then the buildings which stand can collapse at any point of time.
Right. Sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah.
But we have today people who think that it's not important, that actually we should stay away from this discussion, and stay away from Aqidah, kill Aqidah, don't kill Aqidah, but kill these issues, don't talk about these things. How do we respond to that? And again, we're not pointing fingers or anything like that,
right.
But you said that Aqidah is the foundation. If that's not built properly, then it makes sense, right? That the building, if the foundation not...
Absolutely.
And if, I don't know, would anyone deny that Aqidah is the foundation of our deen?
Right. No, if someone feels that Aqidah is not an issue, then we keep that portion of his aside, and we still focus on Aqidah. Aqidah is crucial. And in fact, let me give you one of the examples from the life of Aisha radiallahu anha.
Yes.
Upon occasion, a beggar came to the house of Aisha radiallahu anha and knocked on the door. And this was after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the slave woman, she opened the door, and there was a beggar. And the beggar said, give me something to eat. And they had nothing to eat. Imagine, this is the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they have nothing to eat. So Aisha radiallahu anha says, who is it? He says, there is such and such beggar who's come. He says, whatever he's asking, give it to him. He says, we only have a handful of barley. And Aisha radiallahu anha was fasting. So that is food for you to break your fast with. So Aisha radiallahu anha says, give it to him and Allah will provide us.
Allah.
And subhanallah, this was at Asr time, come Maghrib time, and Aisha radiallahu anha has nothing to break her fast with. She breaks her fast with a glass of water, and she starts her Maghrib Salah. And whilst she's reading her Maghrib Salah, there's another knock on the door. And the slave woman attends to the door. And there is a man who comes and gives a goat. Since the time Rasulullah ﷺ had passed away, he had never come and knocked on the door. But now he comes and knocks on the door and gives a goat. And Aisha radiallahu anha turns to this slave woman and says, is this goat not better than that handful of barley that we had a while ago? And she made a statement. And this is a most remarkable statement from which I hope the sisters watching can take back a message. She said, none of you can be a true believer unless your trust in Allah is more than what you see in the palm of your hand. See, you can see it in front of your hand. Your dunya is in front of you. We were mentioning about the penguin dance and everything, and trying to look like the others, imitating the others. That is in front of your eyes. But your trust in Allah should be more than that. And that is where I want to say that this is one of the crucial quality that we must have. And our trust should be in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from there on, to build the aqidah. The aqidah is very, very important. You must know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects us of. We must know what Allah wants us to do. We must know how we must believe in Allah. How must we believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why is it that we are ready to die for the honor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why is it that we are ready to die for Allah, but we are not willing to live like a Muslim? So this is a crucial question which we must ask ourselves.
Because we're talking about sahabiyat and women, we're trying to basically help our sisters to link back, to look, because a lot of people look forward, but they forget to look backwards. And we can't. I don't believe that we can move forward without looking back. You can't. And there's a saying that, maybe it might not be related, but it says, remember where you come from.
Your roots.
Remember your roots, right? You can't be. It's my. You can't move ahead if you don't have a connection to the beginning, right? It just doesn't make sense. It's illogical.
So what are you meaning here? By beginning, you're talking about
the time processing. We're talking about those examples. The Prophet said that my generation is the best generation, the one after it. The stars. Absolutely. That the Prophet he made the mithal of these stars. My companions are like stars. Whichever you follow, you'll be guided. How can we bring back this love of the sahabiyat in the sisters, and as opposed to look at examples of actors, and whether they're Muslims or not, we're not talking about that, and actresses, and to look at these women who are truly successful in the sight of Allah. Forget about the side of human beings, the side of Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself said that. So how does your program maybe tackle this?
Right. See, the most important objective should be that we must introduce the life of these companions, the female companions as well as the male companions, from an early age. You see, when our children are small, and I'm coming from India, where Bollywood is very famous, and some of the leading superstars of Bollywood have got the title Khan, and people associate, people enjoy them. The point that I wish to make here is that we must introduce who Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu is right from the time a child is growing. Because this is a formative age. Right. At the formative age, we must introduce them not to certain film stars and certain songs, rather the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the lives of the companions. So it's very important, you get these lovely books for children on Fatima radiallahu anha or Khadija radiallahu anha. These books must be picked up, and the stories must be narrated every night to the child. Because while you're reciting it, the stories have a moral and lesson, and that moral or lesson forms the nature of the child.
So how would the hijab fall into this? How would a parent use this to make a daughter love hijab, for example? Because that's one of the things we've been kind of neglecting. We're trying to see how can we instill the love of hijab, because we're talking about that, into the hearts of those young sisters. Right. As you said, this imprinting age is so important.
Right. You see, what I look at it is two things. One is obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the other is obedience to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The definition of this obedience must be taught to the child right from the time he's small. It's surprising that when a child is growing up, the child is scared if his mother sees him or her doing something wrong, or the father will see him or her doing something wrong. So they will avoid doing a sin in front of the parents. But behind the parents, they might be committing a sin.
Right.
So they have to be taught about who Allah is, and that Allah sees you, even at that place where no one else can see you. So you bring in the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Unless and until the position of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is made clear, the child will not understand the message of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. See, the moment I have able to relate that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands, I have to follow it. And whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, as I hear, I affirm.
Right.
If that quality can be inbuilt in the child, then the moment the child reads the verse of the Quran, which says that say to the believing man or say to the believing women that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty, the moment they shall read it, it will come into their heart. So it's important for those who are mothers and have young children at home, they start doing the tarbiyah from right now. The definition of Atiullah wa Atiur Rasul, it has to be explained very well to the child from his age, whatever his capacity is.
Okay, give us some examples of, let's go into more practical things, but give us some examples that our sisters today can look towards or look back at, and why were these examples? Why would these be better examples to follow than, for example, someone today, right? That are, I don't want to name girls that are out there on the, that are sisters themselves follow these days and they want to watch. But can you give us some examples?
Right. Look, I would share the story of Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib. May Allah be pleased with her. She was the daughter of Abdul Muttalib and the sister of Hamza radiallahu anha. And her relation with Hamza radiallahu anha was so strong, that only when Hamza radiallahu anha bought Iman, she bought Iman. Till that point, she had not bought Iman. And she is also the mother of the famous companion, Zubair radiallahu anha. So, when Zubair had bought Iman, and she had not bought Iman at that time, she used to punish her son. But what Islam did to her, and I can talk about her bravery, something which women should look up at. Many women are scared, they get scared of the slightest thing. And we were discussing the other day with Akhi Ismail Bullock that women get scared of cockroaches. Right. So he said even he gets scared of cockroaches. But subhanallah, we don't have cockroaches around over here.
Who, me? I'm very brave.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. May Allah reward you for your bravery.
But I did correct it. I said it's not quite being scared, but it's more like a yikes kind of like.
Subhanallah.
They're not exactly very appealing, are they?
No, they aren't.
Unless you live in Thailand and you eat them, of course. Yes. That could be possible.
We can send them to some other countries where they eat them, inshallah.
Right.
So anyways, coming back to the issue, the story of Safiya radiallahu anha. Safiya radiallahu anha, she was known for her bravery. And one example I can give you was when a battle had taken place and the women of the household of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ and the other companions, they were put up at the fortress of Fari. And in order to protect them, a male companion was sent. And his name was Hassan bin Thabit. And he was a poet companion of the Prophet ﷺ. And he had never lifted a sword in his life. So when he reached over there, a Jew came to know that the females are over here. So if one of us can enter and attack them, then khalas, we've done our job. So one of them started climbing the fortress. Safiya radiallahu anha saw that and she instructed Hassan, "Oh Hassan, go and strike him before he harms us." Hassan says, "Ya Safiya, if I could do that, I would not have been here, I would have been at the battlefield. I can't do that." So Safiya radiallahu anha, the brave woman that she was, she took a step forward and she struck him and chopped his head off. Now, what happened at this point was, Hassan bin Thabit was instructed to go and throw the head away to the enemies. Because the enemies would know that, look, the women are protected.
Right.
So, Hassan said, look, I can't do that. I've never done that. If I could do that also, I would have been at the battlefield. So, Safiya radiallahu anha, the brave woman that she was, she just lifted it and she threw it back. Even at the battle of Badr, I beg your pardon, at the battle of Uhud, where Hamza radiallahu anhu was martyred. And at a point when the Muslim army had started staring defeat, when everyone was taking a step back, Safiya radiallahu anha came forward and she started striking the head of the enemy. To a point that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed Zubair that go and bring your mother back, because I fear she may harm herself.
Subhanallah.
And when Hamza radiallahu anhu got martyred, And Safiya radiallahu anha wanted to go up and see the body of Hamza radiallahu anha. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed Zubair, don't allow her to go. So she told Zubair, why is it that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not allow me to go? And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard it, he allowed her. And when she went to the body, she said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. She cried, but she still had a brave heart. She fought. So subhanallah, the point that we want to make over here is that our women must be brave. They must be ready to take up any kind of tough situations which can come up in their life. And of course, we don't mean that, if you have a tough situation with your husband, you become a Safiya like she was with the enemy.
Chop his head off.
Chop the head off. You can't afford to do that. So this was the life of Safiya radiallahu anha, very briefly.
But yet, I mean, what we can relate it to is that on this side, when you say they have to be brave, is that they have to. We have examples of Safiya radiallahu anha, how she was able to have patience and deal with these very stressful situations.
Absolutely.
Like battles.
Absolutely.
So a sister could look at this and say, well, this, mashallah, she was not only like me. Maybe a sister says, well, I'm living in a non-Muslim country with a minority. Hang on, they were also the minority. They were being physically attacked, threatened with death. I'm not being threatened with death, the sister can say to herself.
Right.
They stuck on their religion, and they had to sometimes, like you said, she had to take up arms to defend the other women.
Absolutely.
And the sisters don't have to do that. So sometimes they can say, okay, I can wear my hijab, I can stand proud, and I can take that, now and again, that person shouting comments, calling me a penguin or a ninja, or whatever, out of the bus window when I'm walking down to the supermarket. I can take that because I'm not having to go out with a sword and fight attackers off. So they can use that to look at.
Look, the best of personalities to have ever walked on the face of the earth was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was not spared of titles which was to the extent that he was called a sorcerer, he was called a magician, he was called a kadhab, and a kadhab is a person who is a perpetual liar. Astaghfirullah. These are the kind of titles which was used on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And imagine the situation when Aisha radiallahu anha was slandered, her character was slandered. That was another difficult situation which had come in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam dealt with, look, while the sisters must look up at female companions as their role model, there is one role model which must be there in each of our heart, and that is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we must learn how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did sabr. So like you mentioned, the cases where people are calling them names because they are taking up hijab, and the land where I come from, that's not a land where the Muslims are a majority. There are challenges which you will face, but how you are able to maneuver yourself and how you're able to build iman and put your trust in Allah, that this is solely for the sake of Allah. The moment you start thinking that, look, I am wearing this hijab because I shall look good and I shall feel protected, that thought where you keep reminding yourself, then there's a problem. But the moment you wear it thinking, this is solely for the sake of Allah, then whatever people shall say, it will make no difference. Yani, we have been given the instruction that the whole world is a place where you can just masjid pray, you can just read your salah wherever you wish. If we start doing it in the middle of a road, in the land of the kuffar, and if they say any comment, does that mean we leave our salah? We must be proud of our identity.
We have to, inshallah, take a short break, and we'll be right back. Again, we ask our audience to contribute to the show, to ask questions, and give us a call, inshallah, the number that appears on the screen. We'll see you in a bit. Assalamu alaikum.
To please Allah.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back from the break. Now before we went for the break, obviously, we were talking about some examples and how we mentioned Safiya radiallahu anha and how the sisters can see what kind of hard, really physical struggle she had to deal with, but she remained steadfast on the deen, and how they can really apply that quite easily into most of the time what is generally an easy situation. Most of the time and that's even for the brothers, having a Muslim appearance or doing certain aspects of the religion, it's more of a self-confidence issue. It's not really, most of the time, it's not like a threat to their life or those kind of levels. It's something quite easy and something quite simple. But before we continue, I believe we have a phone call. Muhammad from Mecca, mashallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam.
I'm happy to talk to you, and I want to thank you very much. I enjoy actually your program. I want to say that the way to Allah is not difficult. It's full of happiness. When my husband died, may God have blessing on his soul. I found the sweetness of life. Believe me, in supplications and in prayer. So the way to Allah we must say to people that the way to Allah is not difficult. It's full of happiness. It's full of the sweetness of life. My English is not so good. I hope that. Thank you very much.
Allah bless.
Thank you, sister, for very nice comments there.
I mean, as you said, that real happiness is not in dancing and because these are they're very limited, right? And you need that stimulant. You need it on a perpetual basis, right? But with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and choosing the path to Islam, you have that inner peace and happiness that no one can take it, right? So it's like it doesn't, because Allah is always present, right? Allah is doesn't, Subhanallah. So you're always, if you understand it, if you can see it, if you can know your position and know how important this is for you, khalas, you'll never be without happiness.
One of the things which you just said about and the sister also mentioned about supplication, that she finds peace in supplication. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the medicine for the heart. You see, we go, whenever we have a problem with our heart, one is a medical problem, and other is the spiritual problem. Now for the spiritual problem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a medicine in the Quran, which is Ala bi zikrillahi tatma'inul qulub. That indeed, in the zikr of Allah, shall the heart find peace. It shall find tranquility. So we must engage ourselves in a lot of zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, as much as we can do, as much of zikr which we can do. This is a medicine for our heart. And for those sisters who face uphill task in taking the hijab or any other aspects of Islam, if they continue with the zikr of Allah, indeed their heart will be at peace, and inshallah they will be able to overcome any of these problems.
Let's talk about, someone actually posted and asked me to talk about this, but it was about true women that are mentioned in the Quran, and one of them being Maryam.
She's the only one mentioned by name actually in the Quran.
By name,
only woman, subhanAllah, in the Quran.
Because it says that she took a hijab, from them. So actually, the word hijab is used when it comes in the context. Yeah, she withdrew herself. And we know that she was very young, number one. Even from the Israeliyat, which are some of the narrations that come from the Jews and the Christians. But we know that she was quite young, and we know that she was, subhanallah, in charge with a great task, subhanallah. She was the mother of Isa alayhi salam, one of the greatest prophets, in Islam, which is Jesus. And then we have Asya, who was, subhanallah, the wife of the worst person almost ever walked this earth, right? And that is Fir'aun. And she was a believer, right? And speaking about supplication that the sister made, she made a supplication, a very beautiful supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to give him a house in Jannah, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I mean, this is so beautiful, because the sister was making it. So it's like supplication, a sister, and a difficulty. What a difficulty, to be, you would say that, she's a VIP. She's got everything she wants, yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given her the sweetness of Iman, and she's asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَنَجِّنِي مِن فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِي وَنَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ, and save me from Fir'aun and what he's doing. Subhanallah. So how can we take these two women, how the sisters can take them as example? I mean, what do you think?
Well, as far as Asya, in fact, there are two other women which I would like to mention along with Asya radiallahu anha and Maryam, may Allah be pleased. Asya, may Allah be pleased with her, and Maryam, may Allah be pleased with her, which is Fatima and Khadija, because the Prophet ﷺ said that many amongst the men have reached the stage of perfection.
Yes.
But as far as women are concerned, there are only 4. One is Asiya, the second is Maryam, the third is Fatima, and the fourth is Khadija. Of course, not in that order. May Allah be pleased with them all. So we must read more about their life. When we read the life of Asiya radiallahu anha, like you just mentioned, she had the riches of the world. She, like you said, she had a VIP lifestyle. Whatever she wanted, she could have got. And all she had to do was, she had to just follow her husband and obedience to husband. But she chose the punishment which Fir'aun gave on her for the sweetness of Iman which she had. She preferred to go through that sacrifices. Something similar to what Sumayya, may Allah be pleased with her, the first martyr in Islam, went through. That all she had to do was say, I go back on the deen of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I leave the deen of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But she stuck to that punishment which she was facing. So again, drawing parallels with the issue of what we were talking of, people being called names for taking up hijab. Look into their lives. That they gave their life for Islam. And when it comes to simple things like hijab, why I say simple thing? Because compared to Islam, following Islam,
hijab is like a basic, and it's still in Islam. It's not something like,
it's not a major thing. I mean, of course it is important in Islam, but compared to your Iman, hijab is just a facilitator. It facilitates the process. For that, people just let it go. For a single statement, somebody says something and we let go of our hijab. Our boss says that we have to leave the hijab, otherwise how would you meet the customers, etc. We let go of the hijab.
Actually, I had a sister, I guess we're in the same high school, but she saw my page and she messaged me. She was saying that, that's how she left the hijab. She was wearing it, but then people started saying that, I guess, the question comes in, a lot of sisters say that, well, I'm not that good, so I'll just leave hijab because I'm not a good representative of hijab, how, a lot of sisters have that question. Can they just leave hijab because they're not good representatives of it? Or how does it work?
This is a total whispering of the shaitan. The shaitan wants you to think that you are not good. This is what the shaitan wants you to do. All the time he wants you to think that you are not good, your iman is low. Let me tell you something. One of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, he started going to the streets and started saying that, I am a munafiq, I am a munafiq. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu saw him and he said, what happened? Why are you calling yourself a munafiq? He says, when I am with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my iman is very high. But when I am away from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my iman level comes down. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu says, in that case, even I am a munafiq. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to this incident, that if your iman level would have been at the same level all the time, you would have seen the angel. So iman goes through ups and downs.
So sisters should not let these things.
You should not let these things affect you. If you allow the shaitan to overpower you, when these thoughts comes in your mind, you should say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. This is total whisperings from the shaitan. This is an aspect of Islam. Who will take you away from Islam? Who is your open enemy? Ask yourself. Shaitan is your open enemy. And you must always ask your question, for whose sake am I wearing this? If I've taken the hijab, is it because of pleasing people? Many people take the simple hijab and they say that we want to look simple and let people know that how modest we are. Even that is wrong. Because that also comes under riyah. That's also show off. So while some sisters may take hijab which is very decorative and may attract attention, some may take very simple hijab with the intention that people will look at me and think we are very pious. It has nothing to do with people. It's between you and Allah.
Ordering and obeying the words of Allah.
Absolutely.
Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just to wrap up, we're actually running out of time. And just a few closing remarks when it comes to, because I think now we'll wrap up the episodes of hijab. Of course, our sisters, depending where they are in the world, and we pretty much live in a global village today. In some areas you might have, obviously, it's more, the culture is more conducive towards hijab. But at the same time, as you said, this is something between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the servant. And for those who are facing challenges, those sisters who might be second-guessing themselves, questioning themselves whether, I should do this or I should not. It's just, we tell you, just do it. Just take the step, Take the step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you find Allah will come towards you. And just commit. And, I'm not saying be proud of it, but I'm saying feel that you are doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and don't feel weak or negative or oppressed or anything like that, because the only thing that you're doing is that you're pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Absolutely.
You are pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are obeying the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there can only be benefit out of it. And in following all the other paths, all the fashion, hijab, and not wearing hijab, how much time do you have to impress people? How many years, how many days do you have? It's going to end. Even the beauty is going to fade away. And then you're going to reach that point where, all my beauty, all my youth is gone. Oh, now, let me start, becoming. And you don't know you're going to reach that or not, right?
Absolutely.
So you don't, this life is too short, to follow these whispers of shaitan, to follow the whispers of the shaitan from the ins, from the human beings, which are so many. And when shaitan comes to you, he doesn't tell you that here's some alcohol, drink it. He tells you, here's a bottle of water. Yeah, it's it looks like water, almost, just try a little bit. So he takes something that might be halal and starts twisting slowly.
Step by step.
Take that hijab a bit this way, put a little bit of that way.
Do a because I'm happy dancing video.
It's okay, everyone. It's just for the
It's a bit of fun.
You'll impress the people. People will not think that you're so grumpy. You Muslims are so grumpy. Come on, show the world who you really are.
Subhanallah.
And I always say, if Rasulullah would be here, would he participate in that? Would he approve of that? Would he be happy with that? Would he laugh at that? This is, in the end, the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Jazakallah khair. Allah barak feek for joining us today, and inshallah, hopefully we can have you again.
We'll hopefully have you, inshallah, in the future.
Inshallah.
You and your nice pink shirt, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. I noticed that. Mashallah. Mashallah. Barakallah feek.
So we've come to the end of the road, as a poet once said. And inshallah, so join us.
Poet a smile?
Which poet was that?
Poet a smile? I was about to ask him.
That was a joke. You don't even really want to know who said that.
Okay.
I think you'll probably remember after the show. Okay. But anyway, as we come to the end of the road, yes. And inshallah, join us at the same time, same place, next week live from Dubai on Huda TV. I'm your host Ismail Bullock, and he's your host
Gabriel Romani.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
A chance to gain reward I will spend on you, he says, all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn his reward, don't forget the oppressed.
This audio is brought to you by Muslim Central. Please consider donating to help cover our running costs and future projects by visiting www.muslimcentral.com/donate.